let's talk about the play caller situation for the Browns
Yeah.
and then pivot that into the rest of what Tommy Rees had to say this morning. But surprise to maybe nobody, Kevin Stefanski is calling plays next year. Right or wrong call?
Guys, here's what I love about this. Remember last year when they hired Ken Dorsey, and for months it was a mystery who was going to call the plays?
Yep.
It took forever. Kevin Stefanski hires the OC. You know, there's been, and the reason I kind of jumped on board back with Stefanski after losing faith in him, and again, we'll see if it pans out after this year, but is that I felt like he finally said, enough, we're doing it my way. If you don't like it, get out of my way. And this is another indication of that to me. Because they hired Tommy Rees, and this wasn't dragged out. First press conference after hiring Tommy Rees, I'll be calling the plays. Because he didn't want Tommy Rees getting 13 different questions about play calling. He said it even before Tommy Rees spoke. I like that, and I got zero problem with Stefanski calling the plays.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that was going to be the case. Like I said, this is the year of redemption for him. You know, this is the year that he takes everything back. Like, all right, listen, we tried it your way, it didn't work, so we're going to go back to my way. And if I'm going out, because if I'm on the hot seat, like people would like to say, then I'm going out with guns blazing. I'm going out calling my plays. I'm going out with my staff, with the guys that I want on here. I ain't listening to nobody else. And I respect him for doing that. I mean, I think the thing about him is, I keep telling everybody, I think he has a really good relationship with all the players. I mean, just from a mutual respect, everybody that I talk to have a good respect for him. He's not one of those guys that grill people in media. Anytime you ask him a question about a player, he would say, well, you know, anything that me and the player talk about, we keep private. Mm-hmm. So, like, he don't even put stuff out there. So I think for a player, you got to respect that. And I think they're going to respond to him. If they really care about him and have the respect for him, they know what's going on. They see what's happening in the media, what people are saying about him. So if they really care about him, they're going to make sure that he succeed this season.
That's it. This is what we've been asking for. You know, when you have a very limited time to get what you need done and you feel like there's a sense of urgency because of the way the season ended last year, now you can start to see people actually making the moves they should have been making all along. They should have always been decisive. He should have been decisive about what Ken Dorsey was talking about last year. He should have said, came out in front. And the Browns, for lack of better terms, have not been forceful enough in their messaging. Their messaging has been poor. It's been wishy-washy.
Yes.
And it doesn't do you any good to be vague, like, you know, like you're concealing something. There's no advantage. Like, they're still using the Bill Belichick 2002 playbook where everybody's on the injury report and we don't want to tell anybody anything because it gives us an unfair advantage and we don't want to give away what we're doing. No, sometimes you got to be clear about what you want to do because it gives direction to your players. It makes us understand that, listen, we are here to do a job, and we're here to do it in a certain type way. And I'm the leader. I'm the guy in control. Now all I want him to do is, you've already made that very clear. Let's continue to make it clear with what you're talking about in terms of who you're going to draft and how you're going to take your picks.
Yeah.
Because now we can fall in line and say, okay, well, if you call in plays, now we understand what we need to be doing. Now let's get to the players and do the same thing and be concise and clear on what the future is and what positions you need to prioritize. So I like it. I thought we all knew that he was going to do it. But I like the fact that he just half-step and come around and just throw a bunch of fluff out there.
Well, he better make sure that he got the right quarterback. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
That's obviously the number one thing that a lot of people are thinking about. And we talk about, since he's been here, how many quarterbacks has he been that he wanted? Is Deshaun the only one?
Yeah, right. I mean, Baker was, in terms of starting quarterbacks or guys we thought would be a starting quarterback, it's only Deshaun. Because Baker was obviously here pre him.
See, so this is a really big year then. This is a really big.
Yeah.
They do got a really big decision to make here, and I'm very fascinated to see what direction they go. Even if they draft a quarterback, what veteran quarterback do they proceed to get?
By the way, two quick things. One, I am big time. I'm going to be pushing for this.
Oh my!
I am big time on the especially if you draft a quarterback high. I'm on the big time Andy Dalton train for the Browns.
Really?
What?
Because go ask Bryce Young what he thinks of Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Tommy Rees's next quote was about the quarterback. Do you want to hear it?
So there was one other thing I wanted to hit real quick, and I forgot it, so let's go to the next
All
quote.
right,
But
if it comes to you, Bo, we'll bring it back. But
Yeah.
this is what Tommy Rees said in terms of looking at quarterbacks, what can be in play. Tommy Rees said, quote, I think you want to build an offense that has flexibility to cater to any quarterback's strengths. We want to be malleable in our ability to shape our offense that really highlights the strengths of that player.
Well, the fact that he used the word malleable tells you he's another nerd like Kevin Stefanski. Most football people don't use the word malleable.
That's what you took out of that.
Right. No, I do like what he had to say. I mean, it's true. You need to be able to adjust to the talents of your quarterback. Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what makes you a great play caller. Yeah. Every quarterback has different strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, you got to cater to that guy. You can't have, I don't know, Joe Flacco run the same playbook as a Deshaun Jackson or a Lamar Jackson. Like, that's two totally different guys. So I think that, depending on who's in there, you got to be able to have certain things. I don't know how. It's interesting to see how they're going to build it. I believe that they will try to have similar quarterbacks in the same room. Like, that's what they did last year. You got Deshaun, you had a DTR, you end up having you get a Jameis, you get these guys that are big-time gunslingers that can get in there and make plays, like that. So I would imagine they would keep it about the same, right? You would think.
I mean, you try to have similar styles.
Yeah.
But again, going back to what I just brought up with Bryce Young and Andy Dalton, they were not similar style quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's true, too.
But they did have one thing in common, and I should have read these quotes back to back in my bad, but this next one was a follow-up to that. Steve, take it full. He was asked about what skill set he seeks in a quarterback, and Tommy Rees answered, quote, I've always started with the ability to make decisions, make the right decisions, end quote, which plays right along with Stefanski's don't turn the ball over mantra.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part. He wants to – Kevin Stefanski does want to have a balanced offense. The Browns were not balanced last year. Now, to be fair, part of it was they really struggled to run the ball. But to also be fair, I think part of the reason they struggled to run the ball is because they went from an elite run game coordinator to a non-existent run game coordinator.
Yeah, or non-existent offensive line coach.
Yeah, right.
I think they're realizing that, though, they took for granted a little bit about what the running game was. And I think sometimes we believe that just because you're good at running the ball this year means that you're going to be great at running the ball next year. Offensive lines, to me, are like bullpens. Like, yes, you can have a great running attack one year, but you can also get hit around a lot. You can also get guys that get injured, or running backs that are not, or lose skill sets, right? A lot of it is, you take a look at Nick Chubb. He's able to make guys miss, and he's able to do some things where you don't really notice guys aren't being blocked because he's so good at making the first guy miss and getting those yards after contact. So I think there is a more concise way that they're looking at it, and I think a big emphasis on what they're going to do is, hey, we need to run the football. We need to figure out a way to get back to what we did in 2020, and they saw firsthand what it looks like when you want to drop back and throw the ball 100 times and what the pitfalls of that. Turnovers are going to happen.
I think you can only succeed that way if your quarterback is elite. I mean, he's got to be not just good. And even then, it's hard. That's why, part of the reason Joe Burrow gets sacked so many times is because they throw the ball a ton.
Yes.
And he likes it that way, and he wants to play that way, and he doesn't want extra tight ends blocking because he wants to have 5 options out there, and he's had, for the most part, success. But it's hard to play that way, and it's certainly you cannot win that way unless your quarterback is super special.
Well, listen, we talk about Josh Allen and how great Josh Allen is.
Yeah.
His run game was really good this year.
It was the best.
Exactly, and he ended up, now he's an MVP candidate.
Right. He wasn't as dynamic this year. Certainly he was
he still used his legs. He still ran and did the things that he did. But, James Cook was somebody. Ray Davis came in there. Ty Johnson. Those guys came in there and provided a nice, healthy run game for him. I don't care how good the quarterback is. You need one. Pacheco Kareem Hunt and Pacheco has actually been really good for Kansas City this year as well. Kareem,
they have
Mr. Three Wheels.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, Tyvis.
Kareem Hunt had a really good year for Kansas City.
Neither one's been explosive, and Pacheco was
hurt. Not this year, but last year.
No, he was last year.
But they won a Super Bowl.
No. Last year, yes, I agree with you.
That's what I'm talking about.
But this year he hasn't been.
He got hurt. But they still had a run game. Kareem Hunt still was
Yeah,
Very
but he's
solid.
like,
What did he finish the year with?
he's like Leroy Horde. 3. You need 1 yard, he gets you 3. You need 5 yards, he'll get you 3.
That's
so,
not.
you know.
He proved that to be wrong.
Who?
Kareem did.
How many touchdowns he have this year?
He had a lot of touchdowns.
But he had a lot of touchdowns last year. Did you think he was explosive for the Browns?
I think he is.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's not explosive.
But I'm saying,
He averaged 3.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
but still, it's still a run game.
Explosive.
Sure, better than what the Browns had.
That's my point.
Explosive is not really his game.
No,
that's not his game.
It's not Saquon Barkley.
Y'all
you
gonna
know.
stop.
Yeah.
By the way, Saquon Barkley, I believe needs, I want to say 150 yards, which he could get this week, and certainly will get if they go to the Super Bowl, to set the all-time record of rushing yards in a season, including the playoffs, which I think Terrell Davis holds that record, I believe.
He does, yeah.
Right? What's the number?
29.
I can find it, but I saw that stat on Twitter the other day.
No, it can't be that high.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is. But anyway, and Barkley's had a magnificent season. But getting back to something you said, G, on the offensive line, you're right. Offensive lines, I agree. They're very much like a bullpen. And like a bullpen, the weak links can kill you.
Yeah.
When the Browns were in their, I'll call it the heyday of sucking, from like 2011 to 2018, whatever.
That's funny.
Right? When there were a lot of years where they would have a really good offensive line. That was like the only thing good about this team.
Right.
Right? They had Joe Thomas, you had Mitchell Schwartz, you had Alex Mack.
Eric Steinbach.
Alex Mack.
And they would I remember one year, I don't remember.
Greco.
Yeah, right. But there was
Batonio?
one year, what?
Batonio was part of that.
Yeah, but I'm talking even before Batonio. There was a year where they had like 4 all like Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen, but their right tackle, I think it was maybe Tony Pashos or something.
Yeah.
And he was shot. And and if you watched him and you didn't know the team, you'd be like, oh, their offensive line sucks. Well, if one guy on your offensive line sucks, it could kill the whole line.
You're in trouble.
It could kill the whole line. Whereas, like, yes, if Myles Garrett had better teammates around him, he'd probably be even more productive, which is hard to believe. But Myles Garrett, can, because he's great, can still be great, even if the guys around him suck. Where, like, it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 or even 3 or 4 of your offensive linemen are really good. If the 5th guy sucks, it's going to kill you.
Are you insinuating that we need somebody on the offensive line?
Absolutely. I think they need multiple players.
Wait a minute. What position is you concerned about? Who on the offensive line?
Well, who's playing left tackle for them next year?
I would assume Dewan.
You're confident in that?
He looked decent in those 2 games.
He's been hurt, I believe, 3 times in 2 years.
First of all, Dewan is a Buckeye, so he's gonna get the job done.
I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm saying
wait a minute. Didn't
Yeah.
he play 2 games at left tackle before he got hurt?
What were the last 3 words you just said, Tyvis?
before he got hurt.
Before he got hurt, what?
I'm saying, how confident are you in
that
DeJuan Jones?
That he'll finish the season healthy?
Yeah.
82%.
Really? All right. Well,
the injuries is behind him.
Okay.
Now.
I hope you're right.
At some point, it's always a phase in a career. You're either gonna get them early or you're gonna get them later.
Listen, he's dealing
with it now, so like now he'll be fine. Later.
Again, I know it became something on Twitter, and I never talked about his weight in any way to insult him. But as someone who is fat myself, I understand and I get it. He's much younger. He's a professional athlete. He has access to things I don't. But it's still in the end, when you're somebody that's got a weight problem, and I don't know him personally, but most people that are as heavy as he is, or I am, we have an addiction to food, and it's hard. No matter you're a professional athlete, young or not, it's hard. Now, I don't know that for a fact with him, but I think knowing my life and knowing a lot of fat people, I think it's a safe assumption. And it doesn't mean he can't overcome. It means it's something he's got to overcome. I'm rooting for him. I'm not making fun of him in any way. I want him to succeed. I think he's very talented. I want him to be healthy just like I want myself to be healthy. But it's something that's a challenge for him because he's not a typical offensive lineman. He is huge.
I am confident. You know what? I said 82%. I'm going to bump that up to about 90%. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
One, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. One, because, like I said, he dealt with some injuries. I think he'll be fine once he comes back from those injuries. Two, I think he understands the the magnitude of this season.
Sure.
How big this season is, not just for him, but for the team and everybody that's involved. And I think he's a pretty good team guy. And 3, left tackle for the Cleveland Browns, starting, finish all games, play productive, contract year coming up. You want to cash out.
Well, no, he's got 2 years left.
But still, you start negotiations.
Okay.
Kind of.
Fair enough. I just think the Browns.
And he don't got 2.
4 years.
This would be 3. You'll be nenegotiating after this season.
I would say, listen, at the very least, there's got to be a quality plan B. At the very least.
See, what they should be doing right now, and I think this is big for everyone included. I think in general, if Joe Bitonio's coming back, if I think Wyatt Teller's coming back, I think all of them need to be in better shape. I think they're playing too heavy. I think Joe Bitonio's playing a little bit overweight, and it's not a knock against them. I just want them playing faster.
They said Bitonio was playing some of his best ball in the last few games.
It can be better. It can be better.
Who's saying that? He said it.
A lot of people say that.
According to his family members, he's been balling. According to close friends and family, he's been doing his thing.
Yeah.
What I need him to do is I need him to get a little leaner, get a little quicker, and I want to start doing more of a pulling. We didn't see the pulling that we saw earlier in the year. We didn't see some of the outside zone stuff.
Yeah.
We need to get those guys on the perimeter, moving and getting to the next level and get some of these linebackers. Yeah. And I think that you can do that if DeJuan Jones and a lot of other people, and that includes the whole initiative for the offensive line, is to come in at better shape, come in leaner, and want to run the football. There needs to be a reestablishing of that identity, and I think it starts with the nutrition, and it starts with losing a little bit of that weight.
I think when you look at the potential starting offensive line, it could be good. I just think there's a question mark about all 5 guys on the line.
Wait, what is DeJuan's injury?
I don't remember his last name.
I don't either. Is it an ankle?
It was an ankle, wasn't it?
So he should be, in theory, he should be ready by the.
Wasn't Jed Will's injury an ankle?
Jed Wills
he suffered a fractured ankle.
Yeah.
Jed Wills
that's like a 6-week thing, right?
Jed Wills had a whole lower body situation.
Yeah. But think about it. Like, the rest of your offensive line is kind of old. Not old where they
that's why
necessarily can't be good, but they're old.
But that's why
the
hiring of that offensive line coach was probably outside. Even more important than Tommy Rees, the hiring of Tommy Rees. I think that offensive line coach is by far the most important hire on the coaching staff this offseason because how we seen them. First of all, you got to get these guys because you changed the schemes, and now you're changing the scheme back. So now you got to get these guys to get back to what they once was.
Yeah.
But they're older now. And then you got to get them more physical. Then you got to whip up a guy that they took in the 3rd round because, as we know, Bitonio and Teller always deal with some injuries over the course of the season. And the last time we see Zach Zenter out there, he wasn't it.
Right.
So and we can't not have him be productive.
Yeah.
So he has to play this year.
Bitonio's mostly played. I mean, he hasn't missed a lot of time. Did he miss any games?
No.
Last year, I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
He's had nagging injuries, but he plays through it.
Yeah, he plays through it.
Whereas, obviously, Teller,
what my boy Luke Whipler
Conklin, these guys
he
got hurt the first
Bitonio
play.
played all 17 last
He got hurt in the
year.
Bitonio, I'm not worried about injury-wise. The rest of the offensive line's had a lot of injuries.
Well, yeah.
It's all fair.
Because Luke Whipler is a guy that should be.
He got injured for the whole year last year,
Yeah,
didn't he?
Yeah.
Tyvis, you mentioned scheme. This is the
we
last
got one
quote I
more
wanted to
clip
bring
here.
up from Tommy Rees. It has to do with scheme. He was asked whether or not it is safe to assume the Browns offense will go back to its pre-2024 scheme. And Rees said, quote, "I think there are core principles within that system that we want to major in and own. But like anything, you're going to have to adapt to the times, and we're going to evaluate what this team is really good at and make sure that we focus the offense around that." He went on to say that depending on the caliber of players and where their most talent is, they want to adapt their system to fit the players. So from a schematic standpoint, guys, not sure if you guys felt they were doing that in the past, if that'll be a change, or that is just the right philosophy to have when you're building a team and a staff.
I think you always got to adjust to some degree, right? But I do think the core principles that they want a quarterback that's comfortable playing under center. They want to run play action.
It was, like I said, this year it was too far left. Like, they got to find that. The Browns are best when you got a happy medium. If you go all the way to, like, we're going to commit to being a pass team, like, that's not going to work. obviously you've seen it now where it brought some highlights. It was some times where we was like, man, this looked good with Jameis in there. But it wasn't sustainable to where and then you don't want to watch your team just run the ball and have no passing attack because that's not sustainable in today's NFL either, especially when you paid a guy like Jerry Jeudy and you got paid Njoku. You got to feed those guys too. So you got to take the ball out of the quarterback hands sometimes. If this team works best when it's about 24 passes and 26 runs, something like that. Because that's what Kevin is. He wants to be a balanced offense. And they got to get back to that. This year they had no run game at all, which forced us to throw the ball 40, 50 times. But then you get mad when you throw 2 picks. Like, you throw the ball 50 times in the NFL, at some point somebody's going to throw some bad balls.
You know what this all comes down to in the end? That Andrew Berry has to hit a home run in this draft. I forget a home run, a grand slam. He's got to nail it because they need to find a young, explosive back. And by the way, running back is a position more than any other, which is deep.
Deep classes.
And every year, there are good backs that come up in the 3rd round, the 4th round, the 5th round.
Travion Henderson, go Bucks.
And the Browns have to hit
pick up, dude. How many
because they need a young, explosive back on this roster. Jerome Ford is fine as a second back, I think.
Yeah,
but I don't want him to be my lead guy.
He's a 3rd down back to me. He's a guy that you bring in and you want to run some draws, some outside zone stuff too. Maybe hit him on a screenplay. But
he's not a 16 carry guy back.
No, he's not a bell cow.
How many picks in the 3rd round do we got?
2.
2 in the 3rd.
Yeah.
They need to come on.
They go out the hill.
And this is why I say I get mad. Like I listen, we were going to talk about him, but there's only a couple of people I don't want to hear about. Don't tell me about a tackle. Like
what you talking
about? I'm not drafting no tackle
in the 1st round.
In the 1st round, period. Point blank. Second of all, we're not drafting no D tackles. Stop trying to get deep.
Hey,
I'm with you on that.
If it's Mason Graham, I am not going to say nothing.
Draft.
If they take Mason Graham, I ain't going to say too much.
Absolutely not.
Man, him, Mike Hall, and Miles Garrett, here's crazy.
Let me give you one.
4 wins.
Yeah, listen, 4 wins at tops.
Y'all sick.
Given the fact that we listen, up front, when you talk about defensive linemen, here's one thing about D linemen that happens. They get hurt all the time. Mike Hall, we 2nd round pick.
Hey.
He was suspended first.
Easy.
Then he got injured 2nd. Siaki Ika, 3rd round pick, never touched the field.
Yeah.
Perrion Winfrey got in trouble. That's another 4th round pick. You can't keep coming drafting defensive tackles every year and being like, oh, we got D tackles. So do the Eagles. But what you don't have is receivers, running backs, and people that put points on the board.
In a perfect world, to me, you drafted a quarterback in the 1st round, a wide receiver in the 2nd round, a running back, and maybe a corner in the 3rd round.
That's what I'm talking about,
There you
Boo.
go. That's it.
About,
That's
Boo.
what I want. Now, it may not work out that way, but that's a perfect.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Mayo going to hit on 2 of those in 1 pick with the number 2 pick with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
You never know. All right, guys, we're going to get back to the Browns.